Hi, hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Daleen. We are doing a wrap up for November. All the books I've read. I read 12 books, genres of thriller, fantasy, and some romance, some romantasy as well. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. The first book we read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and this book needed to be good because the first one was a little bit meh for me, just okay. But this one needed to be really good, and it was. I enjoyed this a lot. This was more of what Sarah J. Maas for me was, what I was used to. The camaraderie between the characters, the plot moving on, but there's a lot of slice of life moments, and it was good. My issue with the first book was the relationship between Feyru and Tamlin, because I'm not a big fan of instant attraction and instant love. Though with them it wasn't quite instant, but it was like in a couple of months, and that just does not do it for me. It's not believable. She goes on this quest to save him, and I'm like, but why? You barely know him. Anyways, so this one, she grows more into her character. There's a lot of world expansion, and it just pulled me in from the start. Enjoyed it, had fun with it. For those that don't know what ACOTAR is about, the first book is basically a Beauty and a Beast retelling. But there's Fae in this world, and they're separate from the human world, and there's a big bad that wants to tear down the wall separating between them and invade and just be one ruler for all of the kingdoms. And naturally, we gotta oppose that because who likes a tyrant? The romance in this was a bit more building, more believable. I also just like Rysand. Who doesn't like a bad boy? But he's not really a bad boy, so. But yeah, enjoyed this a lot. Gave it 4 out of 5. Would recommend the series. I would warn though that the first book is a 3 out of 5 at best. For me, it was, anyways. But I think this might be like a Sarah J. Maas thing for me, because Throne of Glass, I only started to enjoy from book 3 onwards, and then it kicked off, and I loved it. But book 1 and 2, boy, I was like, what is all the fuss about? And with this one, with book 1, I was also like, what was all the fuss about? With this one, I definitely get it, definitely enjoyed it, and yeah, interesting to see how the series plays out, and hoping it ends on a very good cliffhanger. Hoping it plays out well. Yeah. The second book we read for the month was Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is a second in the Rosehill series. It focuses on Skylar, who is a pop star, a singer, a famous singer, and West, who is a divorced dad, and she goes to Rosehill to work with one of the MCs of the previous books, and Ford Grant. She goes to work with Ford Grant, and the story kicks on from there. I love romance books that include like a family dynamic. They tend to be a little bit more funny. They tend to be a little bit more cutesy and sweet. Kids make for good comedic relief and some good conversations. And Skylar's journey and her growth was very well written. She's basically a spoiled brat that questions fame at her core and who she is and who she wants to be. And there's also one of West's children, his son, has selective mutism. It was very, very well written, and it was so cute. It was really, really cute, the relationship between him and Skylar. And yeah, the romance itself was very good, very entertaining. Obviously some comedic relief was there with her learning how to do a normal life instead of a spoiled life, and yeah, very spicy too. for those that's interested in that kind of thing. But yes, Elsie Silver, this was released 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and yeah, enjoyed it. It's a romance. It does what it needs to do, and yeah, can't complain. The next book we read was The Hobbit, and boy, oh boy, was I sleeping on this book. I bought it when the movie came out, 2012, I want to say. I think it was 2012. I might be wrong, but it should be there or thereabouts. And I have a very strange relationship with J.R.R. Tolkien because I tried to read The Lord of the Rings when I was 15, which is probably more on me than on him. But I found it extremely boring, and it's probably one of the first books I DNF'd in my entire life. I will try to read it again now that I'm more mature and a bit more patient. But back to this. Yes, like I said, thoroughly slept on this book. I listened to the audio, which was narrated by Andy Serkis. And I can say The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien is fun. It is fast-paced. It takes time though to build the world and the characters. It's Bilbo's first adventure where you get introduced to Gandalf and dwarves and the world and songs, and just it's amazing. I loved it. Andy Serkis's narration, goosebumps, and some tearful moments at the emotional parts, and I love this so much. Can't believe it's been on my bookcase for 12 years and I haven't picked it up. But yes, thoroughly enjoyed this. Hate this cover, by the way. That's why we have a different one. I don't like movie covers or TV series covers. Like, stick to book covers, like for the books. They're always more fun. But anyways, love this. Absolutely adored it. 100% recommend it. If you're like me and Lord of the Rings put you off a little bit from Tolkien's work, ignore all of that, read this. This is amazing. Then we read The Enemy by Lee Child. Now, I'm not new to the Reacher fandom. I've been reading them for the past year and a half, and yes, I started at book 1 because I was slow to the series. However, The Enemy by Lee Child, what a bore fest. This is book 9, I want to say, in the Reacher fandom, and in the Reacher series, and it's a prequel, but you don't get a reason for why you're reading a prequel, which is kind of funny. For me, you're just in the past now, and it's a political thriller, and I hate political thrillers. I've not read one that was actually good. The case was boring. The investigation was boring. He kept referring to one of his staff sergeants as the staff sergeant who has a baby son. I've never ever heard an author refer to a baby son. It's usually a baby boy or a baby girl or not a baby son. And throughout the whole book, which he mentions about 50 times, she's the sergeant with the baby son. He doesn't even learn her name, even though he learns everybody else's names. Sorry. Minor rant. Just such an annoyance in the book. But yes, he's a little bit more rule following in this one because he's in the military. He still does Reacher things, as he does. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, it wasn't for me, particularly, because give me murder mysteries. Give me terrorist mysteries. Give me end of the world things. Don't give me boring ass political drama. There wasn't even drama. It was just. But yes, it's totally a me thing. Political thrillers doesn't do it for me because they don't intrigue me at all. So this meh. What I did like about this was you got to see Reacher with his brother, and his mom. Just totally fun. Their mom is a character. I loved her, and that part of the book I enjoyed. The little glimpse you got to see into his family dynamic was fun to read. But that's the only good thing I can say about this. Sadly, very very sad. Anyways, if you skip it, if you're in a Reacher series and you skip this one, you're not really gonna miss much. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say about this one. Then we read The Truth from Terry Pratchett. It started out a little bit slow, and I was like, where is this going? But then once you hit like the 25% mark, it went, and I did enjoy it. It's a little bit different, well, actually a lot different than his previous works. It focuses on all new characters as it's the Industrial Revolution, yes, collection. So basically, newspapers come to Ankh-Morpork, and news you never knew you needed, you suddenly have. It does the normal quirky things, the questionable vegetables, the who did what at the party, but then it also focuses on the plot, which is like a kind of mystery going on, and I enjoyed it. There's a vampire character in here that was actually very nice to read from. As he's trying to live a let's call it a vegan lifestyle. That was fun. There was Gaspode was back. I love Gaspode. He's very entertaining. Vimes is in here, and his relationship with the main character was very entertaining. Like we know, police don't like journalists, so Terry Pratchett really played on that. But there's two characters in here that's assassins, and one of them swears a lot. And as we know, Terry doesn't swear in his book, so he just writes ing. But you can deduce which word is being used. And it was fun. It was funny in the beginning and entertaining in the beginning. And then about 40% in, with all the ings, you get annoyed. Like, we get the picture. It's not funny anymore. And that's something Terry does that actually kind of grains on the reading for me a little bit, is he will tell a joke and it's funny. Good joke. Or sarcastic joke, or whatever you want to call it. But then he harps on that joke throughout the whole book, and by the 5th or 6th time, it's not funny anymore. But yes, I enjoyed this. I felt it was a tad long. It could have been about 70 or 80 pages shorter. But for what it was, where we are in the series, it was entertaining. Very entertaining at some points. Sadly meandered at other points, as a Terry Pratchett book does from time to time. But yes, 3 out of 5, a good solid. I enjoyed it. Then we read a ebook with a book that always draws your attention. You know, you go into Kindle and the book suggestions pop up, and this popped up, and I was like, okay, seems intriguing, we'll check it out later. Always catches your eye. And then I decided, I'm on a whim, I'm gonna check it out, and that is The Heart Wants by Christina Rivers. It's a sapphic romance. One MC is in the army, the MC is in law school. Her family does not like the army because of what happened with her dad. I'm trying to avoid spoilers too much. So they kind of already have a conflict when they meet. Not a conflict, but a topic they don't discuss. If you ignore it, it's not there, and we all know that works out perfectly. And it's basically about how they meet 3 or 4 times throughout 25 years / 50 years. And you know, sometimes you just have to give the heart what it wants. It was a very well written, very entertaining. It grips you from the start. It pulls you in. It took time to set up their relationship, which I loved. And this is a new to me author. I will definitely check out some of her more works. And I enjoyed it. Nothing more you can really want from a romance. Yeah. Then we read some Desperate Glory. And this was a surprise. This was the surprise of the month for me, I would say. Heard about it, heard it was good. And then I checked out Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh, and boy oh boy, was this a good surprise. It is a science fiction. It does not always hold your hand, but it's not too hard to follow along. It was well written, easy to follow at times. Just with the world, I would have liked a couple of more world building and explanations, but you don't really feel lost. Things make sense. I just like details, so that's just me. Can't go too much into this without spoiling too much, so I'm just going to tell you about the world and the premise of it. The premise is humans discovered space, and obviously there was a war, because you meet aliens, and as we know, you don't like things that you don't understand, and war almost always follows. Anyways, so this alien race blew up Earth. It's not a spoiler, it's there from the beginning of page 1, basically. They blew up Earth. So the only humans that are left were the ones that was in space, which is a couple of million. And then some of those humans inhabit a planet called Gaia. Let's say Gaia. But it's a very militarized colonial planet. And the soldiers are almost indoctrinated. Aliens are bad, humans are good. You have to fight for humanity. If you die saving humanity, you're a hero. It's very almost, let's just stick with militarized. Self-exploration is not encouraged. Religion is not encouraged. Questioning things is not encouraged. Like I said, very indoctrinated. You follow what we tell you, and what we tell you is the truth. So our character, Valkyrie, is part of this planet station. She's a soldier, and we join the story where their official placements in the army after all their training is going to happen. And the story kicks on from there. Check the triggers for this. There are a lot of them. I would not recommend this to everybody, because not everybody will enjoy this book. But yes, there's a list right in the front, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes. a decent paragraph of all the triggers in this. Valkyrie, you're not supposed to like her in the beginning. It's a very much a redemption story. So for the first 50% of the book, she's gonna make you angry. You're gonna make you feel uncomfortable with some of the things she does, some of the things she says, some of the things she thinks about, and you're in her head. It's just one POV. You're in her head all the time. So just keep that in mind. Not supposed to like her. She is a very, very frustrating person. Bad person, I would even say. A bully in the start of the story. But if you stick it through, it pays off in the end. It does do a few things that makes you raise your eyebrow, like, was that really needed to move the story along? But for the most part, a good surprise. I enjoyed it. Lots of questions that you can think deeper about while reading this. And there's I want to say 60% mark where your mind gets totally blown, or mine was, and you were like, oh shit, what the fuck happened here? Did not see that coming. And yeah, good read for me. Please check the trigger warnings, please before you read it. And if you do pick it up, I hope you enjoy it. Then we read Thief of Time. Mr. Pratchett. Thief of Time by Terry Pratchett brought me to tears. Sometimes when it focuses on the story and the plot, you go like, yes, this is good, this is entertaining, I'm enjoying this. And then it meanders into whatever tangent Terry wanted to go on, as Terry does, but it didn't really fit the story. And you're like, can we just move on? Like, can I actually skip these pages? It's the Death Collection, and I'm struggling to enjoy the Death collection as a whole. I love Death. Death is one of my favorite characters. He is just sublime. But you have him like for 10% of the book? Maybe? And then the other characters is just like, yeah. So the premise of this is the auditors are once again interfering in human lives. They want to build a clock that stops time, and we need time to live. That's basically the premise of the book. Dave realizes what's going on. He ropes in Susan, his granddaughter, to help save the day with Squeak and some other side characters. And yeah, could have been a 50-page book for what it was, in my opinion. Sadly to say, sorry, I know there's big Terry Pratchett fans out there. It's gonna kill me probably for this. It just did not work for me. Sad to say. But yeah, maybe it works for you. That's it, that's all I'm gonna say about this. Then we listened to Vampire Academy by Rachel Mead, which is a reread for me. I've read this 4 or 5 times already, but it's not on Goodreads, so I decided to listen to them again, capture them, rate them on Goodreads, and move on. My favorite vampire stories is The Vampire Academy by Rachel Mead, just because the world building is so good. Like, forget Twilight, forget True. Well, I can't say about True Blood. I haven't really read that yet, but I've watched it. But this, for me, best vampire lore out there. House of Night, get away. Twilight, get away. So I'm gonna describe the world for you because I can't really talk about this book without spoiling it. You have 3 different kinds of vampires in this world. You have the Moroi, who can do magical elemental magic, fire, air, water, earth. No element of surprise, sadly. But so the Moroi can do elemental magic. They also need to eat. Well, they don't need to. They can eat normal food, but they do need to drink blood. They don't have to kill. So they usually only take enough blood, what they need to survive, and it doesn't have to be every day. They can go into sunlight. It gets a little bit, and it annoys them a little bit, but they can go into sunlight. And yeah, that's the Moroi. Then you have Damphers or Dhampirs, however you would like to pronounce it. They are like demi-vampires, so it's humans and Moroi had children. They're half vampire, half human. They don't need to drink blood to survive, they only eat food. They're stronger than humans, they're faster than humans. And their sole purpose is to be guardians for the Moroi, to protect them from dangers. And yeah, they're basically just a little bit more than human. Then you got the Strigoi, who are the bad vampires. They can't go into sunlight, they only drink blood, and they kill. So a Moroi that kills someone by drinking their blood turns into a Strigoi. That's the only way voluntary. Turns Strigoi can make others Strigoi. They can drink any blood, but they want to drink Moroi blood the best because of the magical element. Their blood's different. So the vampires usually protect the Moroi from the Strigoi. And our story focuses on 2 teenagers, Lissa and Rose. Rose is a Dhampir, Lissa is Moroi royalty, and very early in the book, they left this school for reasons, and they get captured and have to go back to school. Not a spoiler, it happens in the first chapter. That's where the story kicks off, and then you go from there. And yeah, this is very much a YA romantasy. You're in teenagers' heads, they make dumb decisions, they make dumb conclusions. Can be frustrating if you're a very mature reader, so maybe if you don't like YA, this will not work for you. I like it because I like the world, and the world expands a lot throughout the series, and it's a very big There's a very big political part in this book, which is quite unique for YA, because the politics are quite in depth and important in the world. And yeah, I just love it. Um, I gave it 4 out of 5 because teenagers be dumb. And there is the plot's quite predictable in the first book at least. If you read all the hints and the drops, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. I love it. Maybe I'm a bit nostalgic about it because I read it as a teenager, influencing it a little bit. However, works for me. I enjoyed it. Good read. The narrator for this audiobook, though, yes, her Russian accent's good, but just an okay performance in my opinion. I can't remember what her name is. I know it changes after book 2, and that gets a little bit better. But yeah, enjoyed it. Not more I can say. Then we got into the goodie part of the month. We read The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. I love this book from start to finish. It's a bit misleading because the Dragon Reborn is maybe in 10% of this whole book, and the rest is just POVs of the rest of the Two Rivers clan. But I loved it. I love world building. I love information. I love seeing character development. Matt, you read a lot of Matt Coffin in this. I love his character so much. Perrin's point of POV is also entertaining. However, he gets a little bit annoying because he's kind of like a pair of wet pants. He complains a lot, but what happens on his storyline is very intriguing. And then it focuses a lot on Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine, with the White Tower and the Aes Sedai and their adventures, the adventure they go on. Every time I opened this book, it pulled me in. I forgot reality, and that's the best part of Robert Jordan's writing, in my opinion, is he pulls you in. This world he created, like, you get to forget reality, and that's basically what you want from a book. This one, never felt bored. Loved it. Yeah. The ending, the fight scene, I hate when a baddie or a bad person or the big bad, however you would like to call it, is built up to be strong and stuff, and then the final battle happens and you're like, was that it? What? That was it? A little bit lacking for me in the final battle, but can't really fault much in this. Loved it. Looking forward to book 4. Then I read another good surprise of the month, which was Remarkably Bright Creatures. I was a bit hesitant with this one. It's Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And I was a bit hesitant with this one because if your title suggests there's going to be a relationship with an octopus in this, a friendship, if you can call it that, I'm hesitant because if animal POVs aren't written exactly right, you kind of don't connect with the story. Marcellus, in this, that's the octopus, must be protected at all time. He's amazing. His POVs aren't really animal orientated, more like just thoughts of a smart creature. Very entertaining reading from his POV. And he's only in 10% of the book. The rest of the book is actual human characters and their life and their emotions and their strife they go through and the tragedy they go through. It focuses mostly on Tova, who is a 70-year-old lady. She cleans the aquarium where Marcellus lives, and she had a loss early on. Her son died mysteriously at the age of 18. So she's dealing with that still, and it focuses on another character that I'm not going to spoil on here because that will take away the whole story. But this was surprisingly, beautifully, emotionally human, and I was there for it from the start. Never felt bored, felt part of the story, and you root for these people. You want them to have closure and a happy ending, and it was just so beautifully written. I loved it. Absolutely, absolutely loved it. As a debut book, so good. The chapters are very short, which is for me good for literary fiction because if the chapters are too long, you kind of get bored. Well, I do. But this, nothing felt unneeded in the story. Nothing felt over the top or unbelievable. It was great, and I loved it. Yeah, go read it. Can highly recommend to anybody. So good. Then we ended the month on The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. Don't let this cover fool you. It is not a lackadaisy. This color looks cute and warm. The story is dark and gritty and does not hold your hand at all. The world is big and there's a lot of world building words used, and if you don't pay attention, you're gonna feel lost. However, I liked it. It was unexpected. It was not what I expected, but it was good. So the premise of this is, I'm just going to talk about the world first. The premise of this is you have clairvoyance in the human world. This is set in the futures in 2053. Clairvoyance on the world. It's people that kind of have magic powers, so some can read the future, some is an oracle, some explore dreams. It's not hard magic, it's kind of like aura magic. However, humans the normies don't like clairvoyance. If they catch you, they kill you. You can't go out after dark. You can't really travel out of your area. You have to fool and pretend to be normal. And yeah, I can't really go much bigger into this without spoiling too much. So our story kicks off. You have a one POV story from Paige. She's a very powerful clairvoyant. However, she messes up, she gets caught, and her world is turned upside down. But that's all I'm gonna say. But yes, check trigger warnings for this one as well. I didn't find it as bad as Desperate Glory. However, there is some things here that can trigger. It is let's call it the prison setup can be disturbing. The value of life in this is almost non-existent. People get treated badly. Check the trigger warnings. But yes, also keep in mind that this book is dense. It's very, very dense. And if you don't pay attention, you're gonna feel lost. The story, very fast-paced. The characters are well written. The writing style is very easy to read. It's dense. There's a lot of info here. But I enjoyed it. And it's a very compelling story. You kind of want to know what happens, like, all the time. It's like, and there's so many plot twists. Like, is these people who you think they are? Are these ones trustable? Is this a bad guy? Is she a good guy? You never know. You never know. Samantha Shannon keeps you on your toes. And considering she started this when she was 21, and it's been like 10 years, and the series is still ongoing, she has a clear plan. Have to trust her. But yes, I enjoyed this. Looking forward to see where the story goes. And please check the trigger warnings. And please keep in mind that there's no hand-holding here. This is not a beginner fantasy reader's book. you should be comfortable in the fantasy world if you read this. But yeah, that's all the books I read in November. I hope you have a wonderful festa. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you're reading down in the comments, and take care. Cheers.